Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to the first of several spring training games for this Fall Classic 1989 season as we lead into next month's, and we're less than a month away. Actually, it's 4 weeks from today. Game of the week, 1989 Fall Classic. But I need to get more proficient at it. So this is my opportunity to do so and get some feedback so I can figure out what I did wrong. If I did something wrong, so I can get feedback on it and correct my mistakes and kind of sharpen the way I play the game. This is no frills. We don't have OBS. We don't have Action PC baseball. I'm not even scoring the game on the computer. I'm doing everything analog. Got an old-fashioned Strat-O-Matic score sheet I'm using. So it's about as bare bones as it gets. So one of the teams not scheduled to play in the 1989 NBC Game of the Week is the Atlanta Braves. So figured here's a chance to see the Atlanta Braves. Not that they were any good. I don't think you'd want to see them necessarily, but nonetheless, the Atlanta Braves were 63 and 97 in 1989, managed by Russ Nixon. So they are not on the NBC Game of the Week, so we do them here. This will be your one and only chance to see those, to see them, I should say, in Fall Classic 1989. And, of course, other teams that are included for this spring training section will be San Diego, because they also were not included. So they're the other National League team. There are 4 American League teams not included on the schedule: Seattle Mariners, Texas Rangers, Cleveland Indians, and Milwaukee Brewers. Now, Cleveland and Milwaukee, I will use that game as my slow playthrough game just prior to the start of the NBC Game of the Week. And that'll be a slow playthrough. So I'm going to save those 2 teams for that. But I will play, I'll put San Diego against somebody just to make sure they're on the table. And then I'll have Seattle play Texas. I might just make an exhibition game or something, just so they're on the table. I mean, it's spring training, so you don't have to do as play because it's spring training. This happens to be the opening day game for Houston and Atlanta, but, it's spring training, so you can kind of free for all it, I guess, as best as possible. But anyway, we are in the Astrodome. And if you look at the Astrodome on the ballpark card, home runs are only going to be a 1. They do have 2 for a triple. A lot of ballpark cards for Fall Classic have this as blank, but because of the spacious Houston Astrodome, they do allow a triple here on a 2. Not much foul ball territory. You get 1 chance to get it into the stands. After that, 6 through 16, you're getting caught. It's getting caught. Spacious foul territory at the Astrodome. Starting pitchers, right-hander Mike Scott for the Houston Astros. He was 20 and 10 on the season. And Zane Smith was 1 and 12. So not very good there. And as usual, one thing I always, when I get set up here to do a stream, there's always one thing I forget. It's either the dice or it's a pen or it's something, charts, something I forget. And in this case, what I forgot was the team sheets. So I need to run downstairs very quickly, be gone in about 30 seconds to a minute, and I'll be right back with these team sheets. But I want to have them handy because I don't want to have to fuddle through the cards to find the ratings. I'd rather have the team sheets here. Well, I guess I don't have to have the team sheets. Well, you know what? We're going to play without the team sheets. We're going to go old school, not use the team sheets. It's not that much trouble, I don't guess, to go through a card and show the ratings. So I'll skip that part. I do have the defensive sheet, and I've got my note here to check the KD first so I don't mess that up, hopefully. I've got the charts all set to go in chronological order. Base is empty, man on first, man on second, and so forth. And right to my right, I've got the bunt chart, hit and run chart, and also the 54 chart. So I've got all this stuff handy at the ready when it's needed. So hopefully it won't be too chaotic. Good afternoon, midlife. Good to see you. So this is the first time I'm trying Fall Classic in this particular setup, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to present it. I'm thinking we'll just have the pitcher and batter here. You don't really need to see the ballpark card per se, I don't think. I'll just keep it out of sight and bring it in when it's necessary. Look at their starting lineups. Lonnie Smith in left, Tommy Gregg in right, Gerald Perry at first, Dale Murphy in center, Jody Davis catching, Ron Gann at third, Andres Thomas at short, Blauser at second, and Zane Smith the pitcher. For the Astros, Gerald Young in center, Rafael Ramirez, the former Brave, at short, Billy Hatcher in left, Glenn Davis at first, Kevin Bass in right, Bill Doran second base, Ken Caminetti at third, Craig Biggio catching, and Mike Scott batting ninth. So we get to have the pitchers hitting, which is always a good thing. Always enjoy that. So we will get this game rolling. Got our dice right here. Nothing fancy. Again, this is about as analog as it's going to get. So hopefully you can see the dice, and you can see the cards, and you can see the score sheet, and that should be all sufficient. Certainly don't need to see my mug. So we are ready to go. Mike Scott, first of all, we're going to have to roll. See, it's part of spring training. Almost forgot to do it. Got to roll the bullpen session. So we do both of them at the same time. We'll start with Zane Smith and see what kind of bullpen session he has. He's a 3, so Zane Smith's going to be on his A grade, so that might give him a better chance. Let's check Mike Scott. Scott is on his C grade, so how about that? That's a contrast. So maybe Atlanta has a chance because they'll get on a 34, they'll get an extra single here. And on 42, they'll get an extra walk. So a couple little entries there that could possibly help them out. So leading off will be Lonnie Smith, the left fielder. And we're underway from spring training. And that's a 15 for Lonnie Smith. That's an out with an X. That's a 9. It's a fly to right. If it's a G, we change it to a ground out to short, but it's an X. That's just talking about if it is a ground out, we're looking for a double play. So that's going to be a fly out to right field. And there is one away. Lonnie Smith retired. Here is Tommy Gregg. We get a 24, and that's an out, and that's a 3. So we got a ground ball to first. My G's don't come out too good there. So 2 down. Oh, wait a minute. Let me fix that because I assumed something I shouldn't have assumed. Tommy Gregg is a lefty, so he does ground to first. If it was a right-hander, it would have been a 5-3 ground out on the number 3. So just because it said 3 doesn't mean the first baseman makes the play. I got to be careful about that and not jump to conclusions. Here's Gerald Perry, number 3 hitter. Hey, Marlon, no, it's 72 degrees here. We don't have to worry. The windows are open. Tabby's sitting by the sliding door with the screen, getting the fresh air and a little bit of sunshine, and she's just had a wonderful day. Here's Gerald Perry, 23. That's an out. That's a 13. Base is empty. That's a ground ball. With a lefty, it's a ground ball to the first baseman pitcher covering. So it's going to be 3-1 according to the chart. And that'll do it for Atlanta. They go quickly in their half of the first. Despite Mike Scott being on his C grades, didn't hurt him at all. Zane Smith on his A grades. We'll see what happens with him. Gerald Young, the leadoff hitter. That's a 24, and that's a hit by pitch on a 1-2. That's a 10, so that'll be an out. Now, since I've already used the 10, my philosophy is you got to re-roll it because we already used the D20. But it's a 10 again already, so how about that? Line out. Oh, I moved the 2D. It was a 24, so the white die is a 4. So that means it's a line out to second base by Gerald Young. Got to make sure I don't grab those 2D6s prematurely. And that brings up Rafael Ramirez. That's a 13. That's going to be an out. That's a 16, and the 16 is a 6-3 ground out. 2 down. Here's Billy Hatcher. 35 for Hatcher. That's going to go to Zane Smith under his A grades. Under his B and C grades, that would have been a hit, but under his A grades, it's an out. 19 is a fly to right. So Zane Smith takes advantage of those A grades right away and takes down the Astros 1-2-3. We go to the top of the second, and it'll be Dale Murphy, the Murph, borderline Hall of Famer. Could certainly make a case for him, that's for sure. 62 and C grade for Scott, still going to be a strikeout. Didn't matter. 62 strikeout for Scott on everything. That's his first strikeout. And here's Jody Davis, the former Chicago Cub. 45, and that's going to be on his C grade. Still going to be an out. That's an 18, and that's going to be a fly out to center field. 2 up and 2 down. And again, if somebody sees me making a mistake in the rules, let me know. If you don't like the way I manage, that's a different story. That's a whole other issue to begin with, but I'm mainly focused on getting the rules correct. Here's Ron Gant. 64, and that's a C grade. Still going to be an out. That's a 9, so that'll be a fly ball to right field. And 3 up and 3 down go the Braves. We go to the bottom of the second. Still no score. Zane Smith will be facing Glenn Davis, first baseman. 65. 65. He's at A grade, so it's a 1-2 for a home run. That's a 6, so it won't be a home run. It would have been on a C grade, but not on an A grade. So that's just going to simply be a ground ball to short. So good thing for Zane Smith. He's been saved a couple of times by not being on a C grade. Here's Kevin Bass. 45, and that's going to be an out. G, so we got an automatic ground ball out. 13 would have said ground. It's going to be a ground out anyway, so it's ground out first base pitcher to covering. 3-1. So since the result was an out already, I'm not going to change it to the generic ground out to second base or whatever. So it's going to be a ground out. 2 down. And like I said, it doesn't really matter as long as it's an out. That's all that matters. Base is empty, so base running is not affected. Here's Doran. 64, and that's another out. G, that's an 11. That's a ground out. White die is a 4, so he grounds it to second base. And how about that? Zane Smith came with his A game, and he's holding his own against Mike Scott. It's no score after 2 from the Dome. First of about 3 or 4, probably at least 3 spring, can't speak, that I know of, 3 spring training games. One will involve San Diego against somebody, and the other will be Seattle against Texas. That way we get all the teams done except for Cleveland, Milwaukee, and that'll be the long running one. Hello, world's worst. All right, so Andres Thomas, let's move this over a little bit more. I'm going to figure out the setup once we start getting later in the innings. I'm going to try to figure something out. Here's Scott to Damas. 54, so got the 54 chart handy. 54 chart is handy. D20, a 7. Base is empty. We're going to the Wilder chart. So we're going to the Wilder chart. And we get a 15 on the Wilder chart. Foul pop-up down the line. First baseman fighting it. Roll dice. If less than or equal to the E rating, he drops it. Batter gets another chance, or he catches it for a pop-out. Okay, so the first baseman for the Houston Astros is Glenn Davis. Glenn Davis's error rating is a 9. So we're going to roll the die. If we get a 1 to 9, he will drop this. 10 or higher, he makes the catch. And he will make an error. He will drop the pop-up. So foul pop-up down the line, and he will make the error. So it's an E3 on Glenn Davis for Thomas. So got an error there, but kind of not really sure how I want to score that until Thomas has his full at bat. Then I'll figure it out. If Thomas makes an out, it'd make it a whole lot easier, that's for sure. That's an 11. That is an out, and that's a 3. And again, with a right-hander up, it's a ground ball to third. So I'm going to notate this E3, but he's out 5-3. But the E3 there, just so we keep track of the error, but it didn't reach base, so that's all that counts. So here's Jeff Blauser. 66 for Blauser. 1 to 5 is a home run. That's an 11, so Blauser will double. 1 out double for Jeff Blauser. That'll bring up Zane Smith. He was a 179 hitter, and since there's already 1 out, I'm not going to bunt. We're going to have a swing away. 44. How about that? He gets a base hit by not bunting. I'm not a big fan of bunting unless it's extreme situations. So we go to runner on second, base hit chart, and a single and a 15. Single to 15, it's a hit to center field, and the runner scores. So just like that, Zane Smith helps his own cause. Not only is he an A-grade pitcher for this game, but he just drove in Jeff Blauser for the first run of the game. Zane Smith doing it all. 1-0 Braves. Of course, we had back-to-back doubles, and that hasn't helped Mike Scott any either. Here's Lonnie Smith. 54. We're going back to 54, but this time with people on base. This time runner on base. So let's get the runner on first. And on first, let's see here. Men on base right here. Men on base wild. That's a 6, so that falls within the 1 to 18 wild pitch chance. Check the wild pitch rating on Scott. It's a 14. We checked the, we're checking the pass ball rating of Biggio. Biggio's pass ball rating. Look on here, his pass ball rating is only a 3. So it's above his pass ball rating, so this will count as a wild pitch on Mike Scott. And that'll move Zane Smith to first base. I'm sorry, second base rather, with 1 out. And Lonnie Smith still at the plate. Braves still continue to lead it 1-0, but they got a runner in scoring position. That's a 25, and that's going to be an out. That's a 20. So with the runner at second, look at our out chart. On a 20, line out, white die is a 5. So it's a line out to third. Double play question mark. Double play question mark. Doubled off if roll D20 is a 2. All right, we're going to roll the D20 again. If it's a 2, he gets doubled off. It is not. So it's not going to be doubled off. He will stay there. But the line out by Lonnie Smith to Caminiti for out number 2. And here is Tommy Gregg. 63, and C grade is not going to be a strikeout. It's going to be an out. And a 9 is a fly to right, and that's the end of the inning, so we don't have to worry about the runner on second. But the Braves get a run from the pitcher, Zane Smith, RBI single. Gives them a 1-0 lead. Zane Smith trying to do it all, trying to get hits and out-duel Mike Scott. Here's Ken Caminiti, third baseman. Uh, 32 for Zane Smith. He's his A grade is still going to be a double. How about that? Even on his A grade. That's interesting that on an A grade, you would think that's his best grade, but he gives up a double on a 32 where he gets outs with the lower grade. So that's kind of backwards to me, but that's just the way they rated it. But, I'm going to play it the way it is. I might have to homebrew something on that because that one doesn't seem to make sense, but maybe it does. I don't know. Either way, it's a double for Mr. Caminiti, and that brings up Craig Biggio. 43, C grade is an out. That's at 6. We go back to the runner on second out chart with a 6. It's a ground out to short. Runner holds. Let's see here. On out rating, 56 to 64. That's not, we don't need that. Ground out to second, runner advances. Oh, that's if you get that card only. So it's a ground out, runner holds. So it's a 6-3 ground out. And holding at second is Caminiti. And that brings up the pitcher, Mike Scott. And again, there's already 1 out, so I'm not bunting. 44. Oh, he almost got a base. 55 might have been a base hit. 44 is going to be a strikeout. First strikeout for Zane Smith. So now it's a clutch at bat for Gerald Young. 65, that is a home run chance. It's a 1-2. That's out of range. So an 11 with a runner at second base. It's a ground out to the white die, which is a 5, and that's a ground out to third. And that will end the inning. So Zane Smith pitches 3 shutout frames, and the Braves lead it 1-0 as we go to the 4th in this spring training game, although this was the actual opening day game for these two teams in 1989, but it gives me a chance to put Atlanta on the table because they're not scheduled in the game of the week. Here's Gerald Perry. 66 for Perry. A double's a 1-17. That's a 16. So Gerald Perry cracks a double, and Mike Scott's getting double phobia because he's getting all these doubles rolled against him. Here's Dale Murphy. 21 for Murphy is a straight-up strikeout. Murphy has struck out both times. He is the only 2 strikeout victims for Mike Scott. They've both been Dale Murphy. Here is the catcher, Jody Davis. 53, so we're going to the range check. Range check, 53, and a 17. Wait a minute, why doesn't 53 range check? All right, 17 is above the KD rating, so we're going to re-roll on the range check. Took me a second there, a little pregnant pause. We get a 32, and that's a range check on the first baseman, Glenn Davis. It might be a double down the line. That's a 3. So Glenn Davis, you would think, would be able to make that play. Glenn Davis's range. His range. Wow, he's got great. Look at that. He's a 20. So he gets everything, apparently. I've never seen anybody with a 20 range before. That's very unusual. But we'll go with it. So he makes the play. We'll see what happens on the out with a runner at second. Runner at second. So the runner's going to advance as the ball was hit to Glenn Davis. So Jody Davis grounds out to Glenn Davis. And since it's a range play, I'm going to say Glenn Davis fields it and flips to Scott covering. Not that that matters. But going to third now is Mr. Perry. So 2 outs, runner at third for Ron Gant. And now we need to get the runner on third chart handy. Run on third chart. Ron Gant. 42 for Gant. And again, Scott's on his C grade, so that's a walk. That would have been an out on A grade, but on the C grade, that's a walk. And that is the first walk issued by Mike Scott. There he is. Hello, replay gamers. And like I said, I was saying when I first started this, I'm going analog as much as analog can get on these spring training games. I don't want to get distracted by OBS or by Action PC or anything. I'm just playing the game and trying to tighten up on the rules. So that's what's going on with that. So we got runners at first and second. So got the handy runner out chart first and second ready to go for Andres Thomas. 14. And for Andres Thomas, that's an out, and that's a 20. And so runners at first and second. Out chart 20. Right here, white die is a 4. So it says line out to the second baseman. That's the third out of the inning, so there's no chance, no worry about a double play or anything. It's just a line out. And that will end the inning. Nothing doing there. We go to the bottom of the fourth. It's still 1-0 Atlanta over the Astros. And replay gamer, I did want to ask you a question on something because I saw something on this card for Zane Smith that kind of didn't bug me. It just didn't make any sense. He's on his A grades for this game. He rolled for his A grades. However, on a 32 A grade, he gives up a double. On his lesser B and C grades, he gets outs. And that seemed kind of backwards to me. I know he gets outs here on 34 and 35 instead of singles. But is that like a way for them to balance it out somehow? But it seems like on his A grades, he would have the better outcome than he would on his B and C grades. I mean, I went with it and gave Caminiti the double, but it just didn't seem logically to make sense, but maybe it does. I don't know. I haven't learned enough about the game to know the ins and outs and what should be there and what shouldn't be there. So I'm just going to play it and not dispute it, so to speak. Here's Rafael Ramirez. That's a 64, and on his A grade, that's an out with a G, so it means it's a ground out. But I think the 3 is going to give us a ground out anyway, but it would be a ground out by default if it wasn't. So a 3, and it says, and he is a right-handed batter, so it's going to be a ground out to third, and that's 1 away. Okay, thank you for confirming that for me. Appreciate it. So, and just so I can show you the Astrodome card, the Astrodome, they do give them triples. They have a spot for a triple, which is a 2. So obviously the cavernous Houston Astrodome has allowed them to have a 2 there. So, and notice foul ball, you only get a 5. 6 to 16 is the foul out. So spacious foul territory there as well. All right, here's Billy Hatcher. 36, and there's another out, which is going to be a ground out. That's a 1, and it's a ground out right back to Zane Smith. So 2 quick outs. Zane Smith got his A grades, and he's got the RBI. He's got everything going. He is bucking for player of the game. Here's Glenn Davis. 64, and again, that's an out G. That's a 17, which would normally be a fly out to left, but since it's an out G, it will be a code 6 instead, which is a ground out to short since he's a right-handed batter. And that's going to do it. So Zane Smith pitching a 1-hit shutout through 4 innings. Taking care of business, as they say. And here is Mike Scott back again. He can face 31 batters, and Zane Smith can face 28. So they've got a ways to go, both of them, before they get to where they need relief. It'll be Blauser, Zane Smith, and Lonnie Smith. So a couple of Smiths there. 35, and that's going to be on a C grade. Still going to be an out. That's a 5, which will turn into a ground out to third with a right-handed batter. On away. There used to be a pitcher, I think he was for the Mets, maybe back in the 90s, named Mickey Weston. So I'd always thought it was kind of interesting if they could have had a Lonnie Smith facing Mickey Weston. It had been Smith and Weston, but sometimes you just think of these weird things. Here's Zane Smith. 55. He's got another single. He's 2 for 2. 2 for 2 for Zane Smith. I think that's the second. He's rolled a 44 or 55 the first time. So he's 2 for 2. Not only is he pitching a shutout, but he's 2 for 2. Go figure. Here's Lonnie. Here's the other Smith, Lonnie Smith, and obviously they're not related. 53. We're going to a range check. 7 is above his KD, which is only a 3. See, I remembered KD. Check KD first. It's above his KD 3, so we're checking the range on somebody. Don't know who. Let's see, 31. That's a range check on the pitcher, Mike Scott. His range, Mike Scott's range, where is his range on here? Maybe it's on his batter card, I guess. Let me double check it. Let's see if it's on his batter card. Yeah. His range is an 8. So range of an 8 for Mike Scott, that's a 9. So he's going to fail on the range play. So the runner at first, let's see here, it was a 31. So it says single plus to center field, 1-star advancement. Single plus, batter safe at first, runner advances 2 bases on the star plus. So that tells me the runner gets 2 bases here. So the base runner, Zane Smith, must be motoring. He's going to third. He's doing everything. But, you know, like I said, it says it right here. It says it right here on the little chart. Star plus, batter safe at first, runner advances 2 bases. So that's what I'm going with, despite the fact that it's the pitcher, Zane Smith. So that'll bring up Tommy Gregg with runners at the corners and 1 out. Mike Scott can use a strikeout right now, but he's on his C grades and he's feeling it. They're playing back for the double play. 13, that's an out, and that's a 2. So we go to our runners on the corners chart. Out and a 2. It's a pop out, so that'll help him. Base runners cannot advance. The white die is a 3, so it's a pop out to Glenn Davis at first base. And the runners obviously have to hold. 2 down. Still got to get Gerald Perry to get out of the inning and keep it a 1-0 ball game. That's an 11. That's a walk on a 1-8. That's an 18. Strikeout 9-14. Otherwise, it's an out. Now, in my mind, replay gamer and anybody else that knows Fall Classic Baseball, in my mind, I just used the D20. The 18 was used. to determine if it's an out or not. So in my mind, I got to re-roll the D20 to find out where the out went. So that's the way I'm playing it. I'm not going to keep the 18 because I've already used it here. And that's what my logic tells me. But, you know, I guess that's, you can do it either way. But in my mind, that's the proper way to play that, is to re-roll the D20 to check for the out. And it's a 14 instead of an 18. So 14 is a ground out to second. 18 would have been a fly to center. That's a ground out to second to end the inning. Since it was a third out, it didn't matter anyway. But hopefully that was, because in my mind, if I use the D20 for anything, I need to re-roll it. Just like in Strat. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. All right, so we go to the bottom of the fifth, and it'll be Kevin Bass, right fielder. Bass, Dorn, and Caminiti. Okay, I don't know if it says explicitly in the rules or not. And since there were 2 outs, it didn't make a difference. But with less than 2 outs, it might have, because one was a fly to center, and it could have been a sac fly. So I've got to, I guess I have to pick one way and stick to it so I could be consistent. I generally like to re-roll the D20 if it's been used. All right, here's Kevin Bass, but I can see the virtues of doing both. 43, and his A grade's an out. That's a 14, so we'll go back to the bases empty chart with a 14. Simple ground ball to second, and that's one away. I'm telling you what, Zane Smith is pitching like he's Cy Young right now. Doran, 21 for Doran. That's an out, and that's a 19 fly ball to right field. 2 quick outs for Ken Caminiti. That's a 25, and that's another out. 15, that's going to be, he is a right-handed batter. He switched here batting right-handed. So it's a ground out to short. And that's going to end the inning. So Zane Smith out-dueling Mike Scott pitch for pitch through 5 innings. It's 1-0. Hey, Larry, good to see you. I'm going to trust Greg Sovan, since he was the creator and Bink, that these ratings are where they're supposed to be, and I'm not going to question them. All right, here is Dale Murphy to lead things off. He is 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. 63, and he's going to be an out. Luckily, Scott was not on his A grade, on his C grade, so it saved him from striking out, because even a B grade, that would have been a strikeout. But here, 12 with the bases empty is simply a pop-up to the white die, which is a 3, and that's a pop-up to first base. So Murphy pops it up to Davis, 1 away. And speaking of Davis, here's the other Davis, Jody Davis. Hello, D. Smith. Good to see you. 23, and that's a strikeout for Jody Davis. 3rd strikeout for Mike Scott. And it brings up Ron Gant, 3rd baseman. 33, and that's an out. 13, that's going to be with a right-handed batter. It's a ground out to short. 1, 2, 3 for Mike Scott. Boy, we've got the pitchers rolling in this game. A lot of goose eggs on the board. The RBI single by Zane Smith in the 3rd is still holding up, and he's tossing a 1-hitter. The only hit he gave up was on his A grades with that double. That's the only hit he's given up so far. And he hasn't walked anybody either. So here's Biggio. That's a 26. That's a left-right split. That's the first one of the game. Zane Smith's a lefty. He's a righty, so I'm going to circle that as a left-right split hit. And now we will bunt. I don't like the bunt, but I mean, this just seems to be, somewhat obvious that you need to bunt here. Although I have a propensity to roll 6s on these and have bad bunts, but not bad bunny, but bad bunts. So we're going to bunt. So once again, the bunt rating on Scott is a 5. So I think it's the best you can. I'm sure it's the best you can have. So we're going to bunt, and it's a 2. So he gets the bunt down, and it's going to be fielded by Jody Davis. So that part we know about. So now we're going to re-roll again. We get a 4, so that's a successful bunt because it falls within his 5. So it's going to be a sacrifice bunt to Jody Davis. Right in front of the plate, Jody Davis will field it throw to first base where Blauser is covering. And now at second base with one out is the tying run, Craig Biggio. Hopefully I did that bunt correctly. If I didn't, please let me know. But that's first roll to see that he got it down and who it went to. Second roll to make sure it's under his sacrifice hit rating to make sure it's a good bunt. All right, here's Gerald Young. 66 for Young. A 1-3 is a triple. That's a 4. It'll be a double. RBI double for Gerald Young, and we are tied. So maybe the brilliance of Zane Smith might be wearing off now. We are tied at 1 apiece. And that's what doubles will do to you. Tell you what, you get into these double things and you're just in trouble. So got to be able to handle the doubles. So runner at second with one out, and Rafael Ramirez the batter. 22, and that's a single on a 1-10. That's a 1, so it's a single. So we go to the runner, the base hit chart with a runner on second with a 1. Is to left field scores if weak or average arm, or if 2 outs, where they're not 2 outs. Let's see, scores if weak or average arm. So left fielder in this case for Atlanta is Lonnie Smith. So we're going to check Lonnie Smith's arm. Lonnie Smith's arm says here he's got an average arm, A1. He's an average arm. So average arm with the 1, it says left fielder scores. It's hit the left field scores on a weak or average arm. So since he's average arm, that scores the run, and the Astros take the lead. And I know it took me a little bit longer to get the result of that play, but I want to make sure I cover all my bases, pardon the pun. Hello, Mr. Clinton. Good to see you. All right, so Zane Smith all of a sudden falling apart. He's only faced 20 batters. He can face 28, but he's set to bat third next inning, so they might try to just get him through the inning and pinch hit for him. Here's Billy Hatcher. 52, and that's a 9, so it's above his KD. So we are going to the range check, error check, whatever, defensive check, whatever you want to title it. This one a 52, we are checking for an error. And that's a 56, so we're checking the error on the third baseman. Third baseman in this case for Atlanta is Ron Gant. He's probably not the best fielder in the world. Check his error rating. He is an error rating of 16. That's a 1. It's definitely an error. So Ron Gant boots it. We'll check the result. 56. Whoops, here we go. Star. Safe at first, one base error. So it's a 1 base error on Gant. And that's going to put runners at first and second. That one was not the fault of Zane Smith. In fact, a good third baseman might have had a double play out of that. But now we go to Glenn Davis. Glenn Davis. 24, and that is a hit by pitch 1-7. That's a 13, though. So we're at first and second with a 13, and we'll figure out what that result is. First and second, a 13. He is a right-handed batter. Says the grounds to short, fielder's choice, a strong or average arm turns a double play. So the second baseman in this case is going to be Jeff Blauser. Does he have a strong or average arm? You would think he would, but you need to check it to be sure. Jeff Blauser, his arm. No, he's actually got a weak arm when you figure. All right, so he has a weak arm, not an average arm, or strong arm for that matter. So instead, and then we were not on a, he doesn't have an X there, so it's not automatic double play. So runner on second to third, that's on a double play. So fielder's choice 6-4 is all they can turn because Blauser had a weak arm. So 6-4 on the fielder's choice for out number 2. Going to third base is Ramirez. So we got runners at the corners with 2 outs for Kevin Bass. Kevin Bass, a switch hitter. That's a 15 for Bass. He is out. That's a 16. Runners on the corners. A 16 with a Bass batting right-handed is a, well, it doesn't matter where he's batting. That's a ground out to short. Call it another 6-4 fielder's choice. We don't have to worry about checking for a double play because it's the final out of the inning. But the Astros pick up 2, and that's going to probably be it for Zane Smith. He's going to be capped at 6 innings, as he is set to bat third this inning, so they're going to have to pinch hit for him since they're behind. And we'll show the bench for the Braves, that the guys they have available, in just a second. Let's see here. 2 earned runs. How many hits did he give up? 1. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Only 4 hits allowed. He did not walk anyone. Only struck out 1, so he wasn't a big strikeout pitcher either, apparently. So let's look at the bench for the Atlanta Braves and see who they might bring in to pinch hit when the time comes. They do have lefty Darrell Evans, lefty Deion James, lefty Jeff Treadway, and then they have 3 right-handers, John Russell, Bruce Benedict, and Geronimo Baroa. So obviously we're looking at lefties here. Treadway 277, James 259, Evans 207. So we're probably looking at, well, it might be, it depends on who's on base. I think it's going to determine if they have base runners or not. You want a power guy or an average guy. All right, so Andres Thomas, the batter, against Mike Scott. 64, and that is an out. 12, we go back to the bases empty with a 12, and that is a pop-up to the white die, which is a 4, so it's pop-up to second base. And there is 1 away. So now that'll send up Jeff Blauser. 31, and this is one where I'm gonna institute this replay gamer. I'm gonna switch this to a range check. Now, caveat on the range check: had this D20 been a 1, I'm assuming when you switch this from a single to a range check, you ignore the KD and not let it turn to a strikeout. I assume you would go to the range check and bypass anything that might qualify for a KD on your homebrew there. So that's the way that's the way I'm logically thinking about it. I think it's too much of a penalty to the batter to give him a strikeout. These are the print. This is the only printed set I own. Yes, D. Smith. These are printed. And if you ever get anything from Fall Classic, I would strongly encourage you to get the printed set. I would only want the only way I'd want to do the PDFs in this game is for the extra players. I would not want to. I mean, I did it for 67. I printed out the whole American League. It was a pain in the butt for one, and the card quality, I just can't get what they get here. So, all right, so we're going to a range check because of the fact that we hit that 31. So we go to our range check and figure out what's going on. They are excellent. Absolutely. 61 on the range check is a check of the shortstop, and that's going to be Rafael Ramirez. That's a 14. That may get past him. Let's see. Rafael Ramirez's range is only a 4. Boy, that's terrible. Only a 4. That's just gosh awful. So that does get by him. So the base hit will stand. And now we'll get a pinch hitter. And we'll figure out who they want to use as a pinch hitter. I think we're going to go to Jeff Treadway. He's got a little bit better average than Deion James does. So we're going to go to Jeff Treadway to pinch hit. So Jeff Treadway will pinch hit with a runner at first. Runner on first. I think Spokane Steve's been having some health situations that he's not feeling well or something like that. I was trying to watch one of his updates or something. I think he was had some kind of thing with his health. But yeah, I hope he comes back soon because I definitely miss his Strat-O-Matic broadcast. He has by far and away, he has the best score sheets in the business. His penmanship is immaculate. His score sheets are immaculate. I only wish I could do what he did. All right, here's Treadway. 51. So we're looking at an error chance, but that's a 3. So does it fall into the KD? It sure does. Even on a C grade, Scott will get the strikeout. So how about that? Strikeout for Mike Scott, his 4th. But it just barely fit into that KD. And so Jeff Treadway, no chance. Didn't matter. I could have used anybody to pinch hit, and it wouldn't have mattered because of that strikeout. But it took a possible error away from one of his infielders. So 2 outs, runner at first for Lonnie Smith. Oh, he did. Okay, cool. I must have missed it. I don't remember getting a feed for that. 53, we're back on a range check again. 13 this time is too high, so no KD to worry about here. We have a 25, and that's a range check on the right fielder. Right fielder in this case for the Astros is Kevin Bass. Go to Kevin Bass. His range is a 15. That's pretty good, but that's a 16. Unbelievable. He can't get to it. And since he can't get to it on the 25, that's a star plus, so the runner's going to advance 2 bases. So going to third base is Jeff Blauser. Lonnie Smith will single. And now the Braves have something cooking. First and third, 2 down for Tommy Gregg, the right fielder. Mike Scott trying to get out of this. He's faced 28 batters. He can face 31, so he's getting very close to having to come out, and he's going to bat 4th next inning anyway. So they pretty much would just like to have him get. Oh, he's live right now. Okay, cool. Good deal. All right. Here's Tommy Gregg, 24, and that's an out. 19, and that's runners on the corners, but it's still probably a fly out to right, which it really is. And that's going to end the inning. So we're going to cap Mike Scott at 7 innings. As he's close to his spring training, we're not going to overextend the guys anyway. So now we go to the Atlanta bullpen. They need a new pitcher, and we'll look at who they have available. From the right side, they have Jose Alvarez, Joe Baver, and Jim Acker and Mark Eichhorn. From the left side, Derek Lilliquist and Paul Asemacher. So for the Astros, it's a couple of switch hitters and a righty, so I guess we'll go with a right-hander. And they will go with, they're going to go with Jim Acker. Joe Baver was their closer. We'll go with Jim Acker. So we need a bullpen session for Jim Acker. That's a 16. He's under a C grade, so not good for Jim Acker. He'll be facing Doran, Caminiti, and Biggio here in the 7th inning stretch, by the way. But I'm not singing, so don't worry about that. 11 for Doran. That's an out. That's a 1, so it's a tapper right back to the mound. 1 away. 1 down, and that's going to take us to Ken Caminiti. 31, and again, we're doing a range check. See if it takes away a hit. Last time it did not take away a hit. We'll see if it does it this time. That's a 35 on the range. We're looking at the shortstop, and that is Mr. Andres Thomas. That's a 13. Let's see, 35. Yep, shortstop. So it's an infield single if he doesn't get to it. 13 is the range for shortstop Thomas, and his range is only a 9. And if you're wondering why I'm showing the cards, I forgot to bring up the team sheets before I came up here. So I would normally have team sheets in front of me, but I don't this time. So it is a base hit by Caminiti. And that'll bring up Biggio. 45 for Biggio. He's a C grade, so it's an out G. All of them are out Gs. 15 with the runner on first. But with an out G, it's going to default to a ground out if it's not a ground out already. But this one it is, and that's going to be a double play, I do believe. Well, it depends. It depends on if the arm of the second baseman is a strong arm. And we know that Blauser had a weak arm, so it's not going to be a double play. It will instead be a 6-4 fielder's choice. We are down that road because we already checked Blauser, and know that he's got a weak arm. So now Mike Scott's position is up to bat, and he's going to be taken out of the ball game. And the Astros will go to their bench, and we'll see who they got that can available to pinch hit off of their bench here in spring training. We have left-handers Terry Poole, Greg Reynolds. We have a switch hitter in Alan Ashby, and then right-handers Alex Trevino, Eric Yelding, and Steve Lombardozzi. So it makes sense to me. Terry Poole was like their pinch hitter extraordinaire, as far as I can remember. So we're going to go with Terry Poole to pinch hit, and then we'll figure out who the new pitcher is going to be. I believe Dave Smith was their closer, but we'll figure out if they want to go with the 2-out save or go with the setup guy or what they want to do. All right, here is Poole, 2 outs and a runner at first. That is a 51. So we're looking at the range, and 8, obviously way above the CD there. So runner at first, and we're looking at the defensive chart for range play, and the Braves usually don't have a lot of good ranges, so this could be costly. 51, we're checking the range of the third baseman. That is Ron Gant, and he's not the best fielder for sure. Ron Gant's range, his range at third base is only a 5, but that's a 3, so he's able to make the play. Go figure. He got a lucky break there, and that will end the inning. Ron Gant was able to get to that. Keeps the score 2-1, and now we'll check the Astro bullpen for the 8th inning and see what they have to offer. Coming up for the Braves, it'll be lefty, righty, righty. So Perry's a lefty, everybody else is a righty. And we'll look and see who they have available out of the bullpen for the Astros. They have right-hander Danny Darwin, right-hander Bob Forsch, right-hander Larry Anderson, their closer Dave Smith, and one left-hander Juan Augusto. So we're going to be aggressive here. And we are going to bring in Juan Augusto to have a lefty-on-lefty matchup. Juan Augusto, a lefty-on-lefty matchup with Mr. Gerald Perry. We'll roll the bullpen session for Augusto. It's a 5. He's on his A grade. So Augusto gets an A grade at bat, or A grade batter faced here against Gerald Perry. '66, boy, 1-17 is a double, so that's a double for Gerald Perry. How do you like that? Doubles will get you every time. They will get you every time. And now the Astros might go to their bullpen again. I think they're going to go to their closer, Dave Smith. They had Augusto come in. They wanted to get the lefty out, and they couldn't do it. So, oops, hold on. That's a 1. And this we can't tell yet. So, gave up the double. Faced one batter and gave up a double. Now Dave Smith's going to be called on to get a 6-out save. Here's Dale Murphy, and we roll the bullpen for Smith. He's a C grade. So, boy, the Astro bullpen not doing so good. Murphy, a 55. Well, these doubles will do it to you. 19's a single. So we go to runner on second. This could be a tie ball game just that quickly. That's a 19. Well, I've already used the 19 to determine that it's going to be a single. So I'm going to re-roll this. That's a 9. So runner, hit run on chart, right field assist chance at home. Fast batter will go to second on the assist. All right. Let's look at the right fielder. That is Kevin Bass. And this is good practice to do this assist thing because this is something I've got to work on. Murphy is not a fast runner, so he cannot take second on the throw regardless. He will stay at first base. But it will be a base hit. And now we're looking at Kevin Bass, his assist chance. And his assist chance in right field is a 4. So 1-4, he throws Murphy out at the plate. 5 or 6, he's going to be safe. I'm assuming that's the way it works. That's a 4. So to me, he is out because it matched his assist rating of a 4. And there was no, rigmarole about whether he had to go or not. My understanding is on assist chance, you have to go. So that's a 4, and that means that they threw Dale Murphy out at the plate 9-2. Not smart base running. I mean, you're down by 1, you don't want to, and nobody out, but that's just the way the game is scheduled. So I guess you could homebrew it to override it, but I'm going to just play it like it is. I mean, it logically, from a baseball standpoint, it may not make sense, but oh well. And this is one where, and we talked about this, Replay Gamer, where you look at the rating on Kevin Bass. Look at his rating real quick. If I can get it without being too much glare on. He's got a weak arm, but his assist is a 4. He's above average on his assist rating, but weak on his regular arm rating. So that's just the way that plays out. So here's Dave Smith facing Jody Davis. But do we pinch it for Jody Davis? They might pinch it for Jody Davis. Let's look at the Atlanta, because they need offense. And Jody Davis is a 169 hitter who was 0 for 3. So I think we're going to go to the bench here, and we're going to go for Deion James to pinch hit. And then they will bring in Bruce Benedict. Bruce Benedict will come in to catch. So we're going to have Deion James pinch hit here in the 8th inning for Jody Davis. And then we're going to have Bruce Benedict take over and catch in the 8th. All right, so Deion James, who was a 259 hitter on the 1987 or 1989 season, much better than the putrid below 200 level that Jody Davis had. I believe it was 169. So runner at first, 1 out for Deion James. That's a 42. Smith is under his C grades, so that's a base on balls. So a walk, and that puts runners at first and second. And now that brings up Ronnie Gant. Ron Gant. .26, that's a left-right split, and that is he's a righty on righty, so that's an out. We go to the first and second out chart with the number 8. Should be a fly to center, I would assume. It is. Let's see. White Die is not a 1, and he's not a fast runner, so he can't go from second to third. So that will simply be a fly to center for out number 2. And now it's up to Andres Thomas. He is a 213 hitter. Do they want to pinch hit? Well, they're going to have to leave somebody decent to hit for the pitcher in the 9th. So I guess we'll let Andres Thomas go ahead and hit. 65. That's a 1-4 home run chance, but that's an 11. And nothing's added or changed on it from there. So first and second out chart and an 11. And 11 is a ground out. White Die is a 5. Ground out to third, and that will end the inning. So Smith gets out of it, and we go to the bottom of the 8th. Score remains 2-1. Jim Acker is back out to pitch. Pitch a scoreless 8th. He can face 9 batters, so he's not in any danger of running out of gas. Leading off, top of the order, Gerald Young. 31, and we're back to a range play again because 7 is too high for the KD. So we have a range check once again. That's like the 3rd time that's come up, I believe. 43, and that's to second base. It'll be a single and a possible throwing error if the range play is not made. That's a 14, second baseman. Boy, I don't think Blauser has a 14, does he? No, his range on second base is only a 3. That's terrible. So it's a possible throwing error. That's what it says here, 43. It's a single, but if single, it's a possible throwing error. So I'm guessing we got to re-roll the D20 and check on Blauser's error rating, which is a 7. I'm assuming that's what I'm supposed to do. So we're going to re-roll this, see if it's 7 or less. And we do not. So Blauser does not make the error, but it will be a single. So again, hopefully I did that correctly. So Gerald Young is aboard on a leadoff single. And I'm using auto steals only, so I'm not going to try to manually steal that. Here's Rafael Ramirez. Could bunt, but I just don't like bunting. Yeah. I mean, it might be a smart play to bunt because you could get him in scoring position and you can get an insurance run. But then you only got 2 outs to get a base hit instead of 3 outs. So I'm going to go ahead and let Ramirez swing away. 26 is a left-right split, so he's going to lose the hit there. That's a 15. Runner at first. 15 is going to be with a right-handed batter. It is a fielder's choice. Strong arm turns a double play. We've already seen that Blauser has a weak arm, so it's just going to be a fielder's choice. 6-4. And Ramirez, the new runner at first base rather. So here's Billy Hatcher. That's a 14, and that's going to be an out, and that's a 10. So runner on first, out is a 10. It's a line out. That's a 4, so it's a line out to second base. 2 down, and now it is Glenn Davis. That's a 44. That's a double 1-5. That is a 1, so that's going to be a double. Runner on first hit chart for a double, and that's a 1. It's to hit the left field. Scores if weak or average arm in left field. Lonnie Smith's arm in left field. Look at his arm. He has an average arm, so that means the runner will score on that double. RBI double from Glenn Davis. They get the insurance run they were looking for. And now that'll bring up Kevin Bass. And I believe Atlanta will be going to their bullpen for Jim Acker. So Acker is going to go in an inning and 2/3. And they will go to a left-hander to face. Well, they got switchers coming up, but they're going to go to a left-hander, Paul Assenmacher, out of their bullpen. So we go from Acker to Assenmacher. Got to write in Smith here. So Assenmacher is on with 2 outs and a runner at second base to hopefully, for Atlanta's sake, make sure the lead doesn't get worse. And Kevin Bass is your batter. Oh, well, you got to have, see, I almost forgot. Got to do a bullpen session for Assenmacher. That's a 6, so he's an A-grade pitcher. He's under his A grades. 55, it may not matter. 1-8's a triple. That's a 1. A triple for Kevin Bass. He had 4 triples in the real season. He gets one right here, and that run is charged to Acker, and the Astros take a 4-1 lead. So we can close the book on Acker now because he's going to give up 2 runs. Let's see. He gave up 3 hits. Didn't walk anybody or strike anybody out. So, triple. How you like that? That's what doubles do. Doubles will kill you. All right, here is Doran. 15, that's an out finally. 18, that's a fly to center, and that's going to end the inning. But 2 more runs come across, and the Astros take a 4-1 lead. And now you know why Atlanta was so bad as a team. All right, now we got to keep an eye on Dave Smith. His fatigue is 8 batters. He faced 5 already. So if he gets to the 9th batter, I've got to, and this is where I can use you guys as help. I believe he keeps his original, well, he's on a C grade already. He doesn't go to a D grade till he gives up something, right? I mean, if he gets outs, even though he's surpassing his 8, I'm assuming that that's still okay as long as he doesn't give up stuff. So for Atlanta, we're going to have Jeff Blauser and then a pinch hitter for the pitcher, Assenmacher. And their pinch hitter will be Darrell Evans. So it's going to be Blauser followed by Evans. Blauser, Evans, and then Lonnie Smith are the scheduled hitters. Jeff Blauser. Blauser on the day, 2 for 3, a double and a single and a run scored. That is a 24 for Blauser. Hit by pitch is a 1, but that's a 9, so it's a fly to right field. And that's 1 away. That'll send us to Darrell Evans, the pinch hitter. Evans, 207 on the season in 1989. I believe this was the final year of his career. 15, that'll be another out. That's an 11, and with the bases empty and an 11, that turns into a ground out to the white die, which is a 5, so he grounds it to third. So last chance, it's going to be Lonnie Smith. Last opportunity. I almost hope he gets a hit so that Dave Smith will exceed his batters faced. 63, but it's not going to happen. That's an out. 5, that's a ground ball to third. At least I think it is. Let me double check. I don't want to assume anything. I'm assuming that's it. I mean, I'll memorize these things eventually, of course. But yep, ground ball to third since he's a right-handed hitter. And that'll do it. The Astros defeat the Braves 4-1, and the sensation that was Lonnie Smith turns out not to be quite so sensational. I mean, not Lonnie, Zane Smith, rather. So Dave Smith's going to go 2 innings, and he's going to give up 2 hits, no runs. He walked 1, didn't strike anybody out. He will get the save. Mike Scott gets the win. Scott goes 7 innings. I didn't do all his numbers like I should have. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got him for 7 hits, 1 run, which was earned. Let's see here. Walks and strikeouts for Mike Scott. 4 strikeouts and looks like just 1 walk. Whoops, should have been over here, not an O-Matic. All right, so O-Matic, he pitched a third of an inning, gave up a hit. Didn't walk anybody, didn't strike anybody out, didn't give up any runs. So Augusto couldn't get anybody out, but Dave Smith bailed him out. So the losing pitcher in this game is unfortunately Zane Smith, because he gave up the 2 runs and Atlanta never recovered. So I've got it at 1 run on 10 hits and an error for Atlanta. And for Houston, 4 runs, 8 hits, and 1 error. So hopefully I played everything correctly on this. Can somebody confirm real quick, had Dave Smith exceeded his batters faced, would he move to his D grade on the next batter or after he gives up something, i.e. a walk or a hit or something like that? I'm assuming if he would have to give up a hit in order for it to move to the next grade. I'm assuming that's what it is, but you know what they mean when they say assume. So I want to make sure this, like I said, a lot of this is still learning for me. So I'll take any rules, suggestions, or clarifications that I can get. So I'm assuming that he would not move it to his D grades until he surpasses this. That's what I'm banking on anyway, or at least thinking that's what it is. But either way, hit or walk. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. And do appreciate everybody stopping by. And like I said, this is one of 3 spring training games I'm going to do. The next spring training game will be with the San Diego Padres because they're not in the game of the week either. So, and then I've also got to look up what the D grades mean. I'm not sure. Does that mean if it's a D grade, does that mean all these turn into hits and all these turn into walks? Is that what the definition of a D grade is? I'm sure it's in the rule book somewhere. I just don't have it handy. So when he was on a C grade already, so had he gotten fatigued and given up a hit and moves to his D grades, does that mean all these turn to singles? That is D. Okay, so D basically wipes him out. He takes away all singles. These turn all to singles and all turn to walks. And I don't know if all these stay outs or they turn into something else too. I'm sure it doesn't turn into a strikeout. So I'm sure it's in the rule book, so I can probably read up some more on it. But normally speaking, all right, hold on here. Wait a minute, got something here. For shelter fatigue, 31, 32 are always singles, always walks. No more strikeouts in 56 to 64. Thank you very much, World's Worst. Okay, so I was thinking logically. I know sometimes people don't think I'm a logical person, but I did try to think logically to think that these would all turn into singles, these would all turn to walks, and these would be no strikeouts, although they could get an out. And I'm assuming nothing happens to his home run rating. He would just keep that 4, or does that home run range change on a D grade? I'm assuming that does not change. I'm assuming 1 to 4 is all you get there. Just a guess. Okay, home run's the same. Thank you very much. All right, so I do again. I appreciate it. Next game will be San Diego against somebody. Not sure who, but we'll put them against somebody. That way they'll be on the channel in this 89 replay game of the week, and then the final spring training game will be Seattle and Texas, because neither one of those two teams are in the NBC game of the week. I'm saving Cleveland Milwaukee opening day for my slow playthrough game to try to show people that don't know this game and maybe tuning in for the first time. I'm going to try to go really slow and show the process of the game and everything like that. So that's the future plans. April 4th is the actual opening day game at noon Eastern, or roughly noon Eastern. April 4th, Saturday, April 4th. It'll be the Boston Red Sox against the Kansas City Royals. Roger Clemens against, I believe, Mark Gubiza. That'll be at Royal Stadium in Kansas City. So I hope everybody is. Hey, DJ, you made it from the left coast. Cool. So I hope everybody's having a wonderful weekend. I know the weather is wonderful here. It's 72 or 73 degrees this afternoon. I got out in the sun, had a little time to be outside, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Tabby's definitely enjoying it. Got the back door screen, open with the screen, and she's sitting right up against it and just sniffing the fresh air and listening to the sounds of what's outside, and she's just having a ball. So, and again, time changed tonight, so we get 1 less hour of sleep, but we get extra daylight. So that's a small price to pay for extra daylight, in my opinion. So I hope you all are having a great weekend. And if Spokane Steve's still on, maybe I might switch over and try to catch the end of his game. So that's good to do it from here. Till next time, enjoy playing whatever game you choose to play. However you choose to play it, and I will see you all down the road.